In recent days, Russia has spread information about a possible renewed attack on Kharkiv. The city's defenders say that they are prepared for any enemy action. Our defenders reliably defend the city and do not allow the enemy to break the front. Even Russian reconnaissance attempts fail. Invaders constantly suffer losses in the number of soldiers and equipment. Every day we strengthen fortifications and our defense capabilities. The occupiers are not successful at the front, but they spread disinformation. Out of powerlessness, they continue their terror against peaceful people. I warned citizens that we have information that in the coming days the enemy will intensify missile attacks on the city of Kharkiv and its vicinity. As announced by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Special Forces units of the Belarusian Army were tasked with carrying out a combat readiness test. The Belarusian Ministry of Defense has announced that the country's military contingent will take part in the strategic exercise Vostok 2022, which will take place at the turn of August and September in the territory of the Russian Federation. The Ukrainian command states that it is prepared to repel the attack, if any. We analysed the enemy's actions towards Kiev so far and planned a counterattack. We placed defensive positions exactly in those places where the probability of an attack is greatest. We have also created a complex fire system. In turn, the population who survived the burden of the occupation fully supports the armed forces of Ukraine and other military formations and law enforcement agencies. I am sure that the enemy will not move in that direction again. The Russians are trying unsuccessfully to attack villages in the Kherson Oblast that were previously occupied by Ukrainian troops. The situation in southern Ukraine is complex and difficult. In order to prevent a counterattack by Ukrainian troops, Russia is increasing the number of troops towards Kryvyi Rih. Russian aviation began to operate more actively. Aeroplanes and helicopters attacked Ukrainian military positions several times. The Ukrainian Air Force, on the other hand, made 2 attacks on the enemy command points. The Operational Command South confirms that the command headquarters of the 22nd Corps of the Coastal Forces of the Black Sea Fleet of Russia has been destroyed in Cherno-Baivka. The United Nations Secretary General announced that he would initiate a reconnaissance mission on the attack on the Olenivka camp, where Ukrainian prisoners of war held by pro-Russian separatists died as a result of the attack.
We received the requests from the Russian Federation and the requests from the Ukraine to do an investigation in relation to the events that you have mentioned. I decided, in line with my own competencies and power.
In recent days, many reports of conflicts and threats occurring in various parts of the world have appeared in the media and on social networks. First the Balkans, then Taiwan, now it could be the Caucasus. All these situations seem to be different, although they have one factor in common, namely, the global security architecture has failed. If it had worked, there wouldn't have been all these conflicts. This is what Ukraine has been drawing the world's attention to for years. Russia completely ignores international law and the interests of humanity. Meanwhile, Bloomberg reports that Russia has likely found a port that allows it to deliver crude oil bypassing Western sanctions. This is the small Egyptian El Hamra oil terminal. The terminal enables the mixing of Russian and Egyptian crude. Experts have already warned that Russia will try to export its raw materials in this way and that it is necessary to tighten sanctions as much as possible.